Whatever the 49ers are doing with Brandon Aiyuk, they've turned this into a clown show. I'm not, you guys know me. James, you know me. I'm not the fire everybody type of guy, and I'm not there with this. But I'm not the super overreactionary, everything is everybody's fault. Like, there's usually some blame to go around. There's usually a little more nuance to what's going on. The 49ers, though, their front office and the way they've gone about this Brandon Aiyuk stuff, it's a joke. If any other team had this happening, if the Arizona Cardinals had a wide receiver who was just an all-pro, and then on August 5th, we're like, yeah, we're going to trade him. What? That we would be clowning them. That is a joke.
Yes.
You cannot let a negotiation get to this point. I am floored that a front office that has been this successful has let this reach the point that the 49ers are now looking to trade and have the framework for trades in place to trade an all-pro receiver 3 weeks into training camp.
Is this all just part of the game, or if we got to the point where it's real? I mean, that's the question that I keep coming to. Like, it feels like you have a guy who's trying to negotiate with nobody. Like, there's no one out there negotiating with him.
Right.
And so at what point, why did you wait this long then? Why didn't you do something a month ago when you could have got somebody in your camp,
right,
had them start building some rapport with your quarterback, all that? Like, why are you doing it now? There was plenty of time to do this. And so that's what leads me to believe that maybe this is just a bunch of hooey again. Maybe it's just the next version of like negotiation.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe this is all the stuff that typically happens pre-draft, right? We heard Deebo Samuel was going to go to the Jets, like right up until the Jets were picking in that year's draft. Deebo was going to get traded. He had requested a trade, and that's what was going to happen. He was going to go to the Jets. We're going to get the 10th pick, and then that didn't happen. It was all posturing. And maybe you're right. Maybe that's what's happening now. It's just at a different spot of the calendar because Brandon Aiyuk's trade request came in on July 16th. And maybe that's what this is. This is all the normal stuff. It's just happening in this confined space and this very public space of training camp. Maybe the 49ers, and this is what I believe has happened. The 49ers have an offer on the table for X amount of dollars. Brandon Aiyuk says, I'm not going to play for less than Y amount of dollars. And those two numbers are different. And the 49ers have said, we've negotiated. We're at our max, dude. This is it. This is no longer our max in the negotiation sense. We're not going a penny more than what we've given you here. Here's the deal. Figure it out. Take it or leave it. I think that's what's happened from the negotiation standpoint. And the failure of the 49ers front office here is that they didn't foresee the wide receiver market going this direction. If they knew that the receiver market was going to get up to 28, 30 million a year for a wide receiver of Aiyuk's caliber, then they should have known they weren't ready to pay that, and they should have traded him before the draft. Or during the draft, I should say.
Yeah, but you know, Kyle, this kind of feels like what you're saying. It kind of feels like, you know, when Cabbage Patch Kids are like the most popular thing, right? And everyone's running to the store. And they're lining up and they're fighting over Cabbage Patch Kids,
which is a thing that happened.
It's fully a thing that happened. People were fighting over Cabbage Patches every single time they got released. This feels like somebody showing up on Christmas Eve and walking into their local like Toys R Us and saying, "Hey, do you have any Cabbage Patch Kids? Like my kid really wants one for Christmas." It's like, bro, people have been fighting over them for 6 months. No, there are no Cabbage Patch Kids.
No, we don't just have them hiding in the back.
What are you doing? That's what it feels like. It feels like you had all of this opportunity to go get in on the mix, and it's their fault they got priced out of the market. It's no one else's fault.
That's it.
Like, you drafted a guy, he became good. You knew he was good. You could have worked out a deal with him last year. You could have worked out a deal with him at any point here. Now you get to this situation here where you allowed every other wide receiver outside of CeeDee Lamb, which who knows what's going on with CeeDee Lamb,
TBD,
to go get their money. And it's not like 3 guys. It's like 12 top-end wide receivers.
So many wide receivers got paid.
All of them. All of the wide receivers. Even they went back in and cracked into the Cheetahs contract and gave him more money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
AJ Brown got additional money. Devontae Smith also with the Eagles got paid. Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And the 49ers know these guys have deals coming up. This wasn't a secret.
No.
And that's what's baffling to me. You have to understand that the market is going to go this direction. It's going to go north.
Yep.
And apparently, from what I understand, had the 49ers presented whatever offer they have on the table now, had they presented this in March, Aiyuk was signing it.
Yeah.
And this was going to be done. But no, because they're trying to squeeze every last penny out of every single player, you got to wait and you got to delay. Oh, this guy got paid. Oh, now this guy got paid. Now this guy got paid. Now you're hosed. And now you're sitting here in this stalemate where you're going to either the negotiation tactic or the break in case of emergency button of, all right, fine, we'll just trade him. And the reporting from last night, so a couple of reports came down last night in case you guys missed it. Matt Mayoko from NBC Sports, friend of the program, reported that the 49ers have trade frameworks in place with the Patriots and the Browns. That means that they have called the Patriots and said, hey, we want X, Y, and Z for Brandon Aiyuk. They negotiated that trade and they said, okay, this trade is ready. They called the Browns. They said the same thing. They have a deal in place. That puts the ball in Brandon Aiyuk's court. And that's been the phrase du jour, is the ball is in Brandon Aiyuk's court. And it's up to him now to negotiate a deal with those teams and decide whether he wants to play there. And that's where I think some of this is a negotiation tactic by the 49ers, because they originally gave him permission, according to Mayoko. They originally gave him permission to negotiate with 4 teams. It was the Browns, the Patriots, the Commanders, and the Steelers. He wanted to go to the Commanders and the Steelers. The 49ers magically have a deal worked out with the 2 teams that are not the Commanders and Steelers. So they're telling him, yeah, hey, go get your money. Go enjoy Cleveland. Go enjoy New England. Go be part of that rebuild. Have fun. They'll pay you a lot of money. And I don't think Aiyuk is necessarily wanting to do that, because he has said he wants to play for the 49ers or the Steelers or the Commanders. So maybe the 49ers are trying to squeeze more out of the Steelers. Maybe they're trying to squeeze more out of the Commanders. But there's no indication that those 2 teams are involved, at least at this point.
Yeah, this has gotten to a weird point. It's just like...
It got even weirder this morning.
Yeah.
Because now Adam Schefter is reporting that the 49ers, who were not taking calls on Brandon Aiyuk, they said you can negotiate with these 4 teams and that's it. They're now saying, hey, open for business. Who wants him? And Aiyuk, this is why this is messy. Because you have so many things at play. The 49ers aren't going to give away Brandon Aiyuk. So step 1, they have to find a team that's willing to give them a deal that is acceptable for a all-pro wide receiver. The 49ers in this return need to feel like they still have a chance to win a Super Bowl this year and perhaps over the next couple of years.
Yep.
Step 2 is Brandon Aiyuk has to want to go there. He has a de facto no trade clause now, because the Jaguars aren't going to say, yeah, we'll give you a first round pick and player X for Aiyuk, and we'll get him here and hope he signs. Like, no, they're not making that deal unless he's signing that long-term contract. So that needs to be hammered out and done. And Aiyuk needs to sign off and say, yes, I will go play there. And this really difficult trade needs to happen, because it's not just picks. The Niners are very likely going to require a player. And if it is picks, it's going to be like 2 firsts, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't see this ending anytime soon, whether this is a negotiation tactic or not. Like, this is messy. Some of it is on Aiyuk to an extent, because he could conceivably end this today and sign a deal. But I don't blame him for thinking there's more money out there for him and for wanting to go get more money.
Yeah.
And for trying to extract more money from the 49ers. This is largely the fault of the San Francisco 49ers for letting this reach this point, that when we should be looking forward to Saturday's preseason opener and discussing what the roster looks like and discussing how Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel have looked in camp. Now, instead, we're talking about trade partners for Brandon Aiyuk.
Well, that's the problem. It's like are you a championship contender, or are you a team that gets lost in the weeds in training camp, which is exactly what they're doing. If you don't think this hurts the 49ers as a team and hurts their opportunity to win a Super Bowl, you're wrong. You are. You're taking away like one of the giant training wheels from your young quarterback that you're trying to develop. It's so bizarre.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense that it's gotten to this point, and that it's so contentious. Like, why is this so contentious all of a sudden? And why haven't they just sat down, got to the table, and seen if they can work something out? And if they couldn't a month ago, then just go ahead and hit the button then. Like, to do it this late just seems so weird and silly that we're watching a team that's supposed to like get away from distractions. That's supposed to be so laser focused on the task at hand. And that's not what you're getting. And so like, again, I don't know what to say here other than like this has become a trend with the 49ers, and this time it might bite them.
Yeah, to the point that maybe they stop doing business this way.
Wow.
Tim Kawakami was on 95.7 The Game this morning with the Morning Roast with Bonte and Shasky. And he made a great point, and this is kind of what I was saying earlier. Good teams don't do this, man. This is not a good team thing to do. The Chiefs, we talked about these yesterday with Andy Reid. The Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
They said this is our best receiver, but we believe that the better roster building move is letting him walk, or I'm sorry, trading him, and then reaping the benefits of the return in that trade. That's not what the 49ers are doing here. This is not savvy team build where they're getting off a player early or getting off a player that they think they can replace. They don't think they can replace Brandon Aiyuk. They know they can't. They want to pay him. They want to keep him. That's why they didn't trade him at the draft. They don't want to get rid. But at the same time, they don't want to pay him the extra $1 million or $2 million a year that he's wanting.
There has to be something that we're missing when it comes to the grand scheme of what they're doing here. There has to be such a wide divide on guaranteed money or on something.
I would agree.
There has to be something that we're not seeing. And that's where, like, okay, you have to figure these things out, but it's also why you don't wait and wait and wait. Because you start to give the power from one side to the other. And that's what's happening. This is a transition of power. And so now, again, like Aiyuk can sit out until midway through the season.
Yeah, basically.
You can trade him then. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to sign. So your trade value is nothing. You can go ahead and get a 6th-round pick for me midway through the season. Yeah, good luck with that. And Niner fans are going to be angry at him. They're going to be angry at the franchise, but at the end of the day, this is not what a winning franchise should be doing. They shouldn't be toiling in the weeds in training camp with contracts, and they do it time and time again. And if you don't think it hurt them last year, I don't know what to tell you. The first 10 weeks of the season, Bosa looked like half the player he was before.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
It's baffling.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that they let it reach this point. Maybe something works out. It feels real DeForest Buckner-y to me.
Yeah.
And it's not apples to apples because the timing is a little different. But they looked at the DeForest Buckner situation, they negotiated with him, and they went and again they traded him pre-draft. And they said he's a defensive tackle that wants X amount of dollars. We don't believe that maximum value is giving him that money. We think there's more value in trading him for a 1st-round pick, drafting Javon Kinlaw, signing Eric Armstead to a long-term deal, re-signing Jimmy Ward, and we think that's overall going to make us a better team. That was their philosophy with that. It's hard to argue because they went to 3 NFC title games and a Super Bowl in the 4 years after trading DeForest Buckner.
Yeah.
But they have been unable to replace DeForest Buckner. Yeah. Javon Kinlaw was a massive failure for whatever reason, not him as a player. The pick did not work out with San Francisco.
No.
That's why they had to throw a bunch of money at Javon Hargrave to try and replace DeForest Buckner, who they wouldn't throw money at.
Years
and now,
before.
Years before.
Yes.
And now I think they're looking at this the same way. They're looking at Brandon Aiyuk and they're saying, and this is something Drew Down just brought up in the chat, and I think it's correct. They're looking at this and they're going, we don't want to, if we pay Brandon Aiyuk, we can pay Brandon Aiyuk. But if we do that, we're losing Deebo Samuel. We're probably losing George Kittle a year earlier than we want to. It probably means not re-signing Trevarius Ward and or Diamador Lenore. Dre Greenlaw is a free agent next year. Talanoa Hufanga is a free agent next year. Aaron Banks, their left guard, who's been really good, he's a free agent next year. I think they're looking at that money that Brandon Aiyuk wants. They're looking at the Brock Purdy contract, who is eligible for an extension after Week 18 of this year. Week 18 ends, Brock Purdy is extension eligible, and he is going to get $1 bajillion, from what I understand.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I believe it's $1 bajillion.
It's like 2 Brinks trucks, not 1.
Wow. Yeah. I hadn't seen that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So 2. Multiple Brinks trucks now are in the equation.
Tandem Brinks trucks.
So they're looking at this and they're going, hey, we think that Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings can be a close enough facsimile to Brandon Aiyuk, but without paying Aiyuk, we can keep Deebo now. Oh, and now we have the money to re-sign Trevarius Ward and or Diamador Lenore. And we have a little more flexibility with what Brock Purdy is gonna get, because maybe Dak Prescott goes and signs for like $65 million. And that ups, so it just gives them a little more wiggle room where they're not going through this with Brock Purdy, their quarterback, next offseason. And I think that's kind of the calculus they're looking at. They're going, hey, the DeForest Buckner thing, and maybe they're not thinking about Buckner directly, but this philosophy of don't pay one player because it means we can pay 3 players.
Mm-hmm.
And we think that'll overall make us a better team. I get it. I understand the logic.
Yep.
But given how hard of a time they've had replacing DeForest Buckner, I can't believe that they're just willing to go down that path again, going, yeah, Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings can do it. Yeah, it'll be fine. I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like the idea of getting rid of good player, thinking that you can just replace good player.
Yeah,
easily.
I don't either, especially when you have a guy who wants to be there, a guy who you drafted and you brought up, who has learned the ropes, who is excelled, he's found his niche, and who his age arc matches that of your quarterback. Like, at some point, you gotta build for the future with your quarterback, with who is going to be here. And I get it's gonna hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, but like, look, there's some of these guys are specialty players. Like Aiyuk is a guy that can do what he's doing for a long time. The style of wide receiver he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a guy who takes a big hit.
Mm-mm.
He's not. He is the perfect wide receiver for your system. And I get you want Deebo and the trick plays and stuff, but it seems like for years teams around the league have been drafting and trying to use like third down backs to do that same exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
You might not have to pay that guy $23 million or $24 million, whatever it is. So at the end of the day, I'm just kind of bummed out that this is like that they're risking everything in this situation. And I get it. They have to worry about their long-term financial situation, but I also I don't understand the timing and the way that they've handled their business throughout.
Yeah, man. And that's kind of what this all comes down to for me. If you knew that there was a point with Brandon Aiyuk where the lack of anticipation, I guess, is what bothers me, because you can't see the future. You can't be sitting there in the middle of April going, hey, Aiyuk is going to want $30 million a year and X amount guaranteed, and he's not going to budge off of it. But at the same time, if a little foresight, looking at, oh man, all these receivers got deals coming up, including Justin Jefferson. He's going to reset the market. I don't know, man. That they didn't trade him before the draft or during the draft led me to believe that they knew, okay, rock solid. He's here, we're here. There's a number in between, and that'll be fine. But that they're at their puke point already, where they're going, nope, we're done. I don't know.
Yeah.
I I don't like it.
And the list of players that you've brought up, like the Browns offer allegedly is something like Amari Cooper and a pick. That's fine. Like Amari Cooper's okay. Like he's not a great wide receiver.
He's fine, and he's not. I don't want this to be. Amari Cooper is a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player,
but he's also 30.
Yeah,
and he's also on the final year of his contract.
Yeah, so
he just restructured a 1-year deal with the Browns.
This isn't a long-term solution, and maybe it buys you a year for Pierce Hall.
Sure.
Or maybe it doesn't. But either way, you lost huge amounts of value taking a 1-year rental of Cooper and a second-round pick.
Yeah, maybe a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cooper in a first? Okay. I see the vision. It's Amari Cooper in a first-round pick. I see the vision. But still, there's no realistic trade they're going to make. The Patriots. The offer being floated around from the Patriots is Matthew Judon, the defensive end, who played 4 games last year because of torn biceps, by the way. And Kendrick Bourne, former undrafted receiver with the 49ers, who's coming off a torn ACL.
And who's not great
who's
either
a
way.
4th receiver on this team.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like Kendrick Bourne's a nice little player, but he's not. They let him walk for a reason.
Yeah.
You're not getting close to the production you were getting from Brandon Aiyuk with Kendrick Bourne, and then like a 2nd-round pick. Cool, man. There's just he isn't. Again, he's not Justin Jefferson. He might not. He might not. He's not Tyreek Hill. He might not even be AJ Brown.
Mm-hmm.
But he hasn't been AJ Brown. AJ Brown's really freaking good. But he's trending that way. You just said it. He's on the same age arc as the rest of your core.
Yeah.
That's what should matter. Monty McNair talked about it with the Kings. We know what core we're going into camp with. These are our dudes. We have these dudes. If somebody calls and wants to make some crazy offer for Trey Lyles and Kevin Huerter, great, cool. But we know that it's Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray. That's the core dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Bosa, Brock Purdy, Brandon Aiyuk, Fred Warner. Those are your core dudes for the next 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Everything else, to me, everything else aside from that, you can figure out. All of a sudden, if it is the cornerback stuff, all of a sudden you want to pay corners after prioritizing the defensive line for so long. All of a sudden you're going to pay. There's not like another up-and-coming defensive lineman you're going to have to pay.
Yeah, it's not like you have even your offensive lineman, the one offensive lineman that's coming up, Banks, it's not like you're going to pay him. You're just going to find somebody else.
Right. You're very likely going to let him walk.
Yeah, and you're going to be searching for the next Brandon Aiyuk, which you probably did not draft with Ricky Pearsall.
Yep.
I mean, like not to bash on a kid who's going through his first training camp, but I don't think he's going to get to Brandon Aiyuk status.
I'd be very surprised if he did.
Yeah.
I think he can be a good player. I don't think he's ever going to be an all-pro.
Yeah.
And that's
you got one.
The point here.
And he's 26.
Right. You did it. You did the thing. And in 3 years, like George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams are either not going to be on the team or they're going to be way less effective where you're looking for additional weapons.
Yeah.
So maybe Brandon Aiyuk is a quote unquote dime a dozen type of receiver. Maybe the Niners do see Ricky Pearsall, or maybe they're looking at next year's draft and saying, hey, there's 6 guys that we think we can bring in that can be productive. Sure, man.
But you can't waste a year of Trent Williams. You can't waste a year of George Kittle. You can't waste a year of McCaffrey.
So we talked about yesterday. It's the you're trying to compete for this year and then also like be cute about the next 3 years. Like, dog, you guys haven't won anything.
Yeah.
You've not won a Super Bowl. And you're worried about the next 3 or 5 years?
Yeah.
Go host the Lombardi first.
Yeah.
Like
that get the trophy and then go from there.
That's it, dude.
Yeah.
And if you're trading Brandon Aiyuk this year, there's not a realistic trade package that you're going to get in return that raises your odds of winning that Super Bowl. There's just not.
No.
There's not. All right. We're giving away River Cats tickets today.
We are.
Before we get a break, I want to let everybody know. We're getting a suite. ESPN 1320 is at Sutter Health Park on Friday, August 16th. We'll be out there. And we're inviting you. You can win at ESPN1320.com. You'll see a contest page, but at that contest page, you're going to have to enter a keyword, which we will give you coming up in a couple of minutes. Again, you just go to ESPN1320.com, find that contest page, and you could win 2 tickets to the River Cats game on Friday, August 16th. Those tickets will be to the ESPN 1320 suite. We'll hang out, we'll eat food, we'll drink drinks, and we'll watch some good baseball out at Sutter Health Park. Quick update. In the Olympics, U.S. women's national team soccer, turn your radio or computer down for 30 seconds if you don't want spoilers. 3, 2, and 1. Spoiler alert. U.S. women's national team spoiler alert coming. 71st minute, we have 0-0 still.
0-0 against Germany.
Although it looks like I've not been able to watch, obviously, because we've been doing a show, but it feels like they've spent a lot of time in the U.S. attacking third.
U.S. had a perfect opportunity and just missed.
Brutal.
Yeah,
I think that's happened a couple times.
Yeah, the keeper was out and everything. Like, she got around the keeper and a defender. There are 2 defenders, but like a well-placed cross into the back corner would have been a goal, and she hit the side of the net instead. So not great. Went short side.
All right.